I'm Tyler Keefe to the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM in West Bloomfield. In addition, today, as always, in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Both of our television stations are on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. We're also on the radio in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link at the top of your homepage or on the left side of the page on your mobile phone, and also find us on facebook.com/civiccentertv15 and facebook.com/lakesfm. And also all throughout the world on My Michigan TV, on your smartphone, on your smart television, as well as on the web. mymitv.com. That is mymitv.com for streamed content from all over the state of Michigan by creators in the UP, on the west side, southwest, and here in southeastern Michigan as well. It's My Michigan Television, mymitv.com. You can learn more about all of our partnering television and radio stations in southeastern Michigan and all throughout the state on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, as well as find full episodes and interviews from each and every edition of the Megacast, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Then on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, find the latest information about COVID-19 and other top stories in our local area, as well as links to reputable resources about COVID-19, as we continue to have more information coming in daily about the Delta variant, about our vaccines, the potential for booster shots being necessary for certain populations, maybe even everybody that has gotten one of the two-dose vaccines here in the U.S., the Pfizer-BioNTech or the Moderna vaccines. Find information straight from the sources that are on the front lines and researching this information day by day, week by week, month by month, from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and many of our local municipalities, as this information is consistently changing as these different organizations learn more about the novel coronavirus and its variants, as well as more information on the vaccine and make updates throughout time. So click on the CDC resources. It'll take you directly to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's COVID-19 page. Same thing with the state of Michigan, as well as Oakland County's page, where you can find more information on getting in contact with the Nurse on Call hotline if need be, for testing or for getting yourself in line to be vaccinated and setting up an appointment, as well as more information on the Delta variant and how to keep yourself and your family safe out in the public, at school, at work, and more. You can also find our top headlines on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And today, in Michigan, the COVID increase isn't just among the unvaccinated anymore, according to reports. This article, of course, from our friends over at Bridge Michigan Magazine. A rise in new coronavirus infections and hospitalizations among the fully vaccinated has altered the COVID-19 picture in Michigan and in the United States. In Michigan, roughly a quarter of the 8,100 recent cases have hit those who are fully vaccinated, according to new data released on Wednesday of this week. And while the federal government has said that the fully vaccinated accounted for just 3% of COVID-19 hospitalizations, Henry Ford Health System said Wednesday that its current rate is between 15 and 20%. Those changes, sparked by more virulent and contagious Delta variant, prompted the Biden administration on Wednesday to call for everyone to get a booster shot of the vaccines. While Michigan cases have remained relatively steady for 2 weeks at about 1,300 per day, Michigan's top epidemiologist, Sarah Lyon-Callow, told reporters on Wednesday that officials fear cases, hospitalizations, and deaths could soar to levels seen in Texas and Florida if more people do not get vaccinated and take precautions, such as mask wearing. In a quote, she said, quote, "We could have the same kind of experience here if we don't use mitigation measures," end closed quote. Current projections suggest the state could have another 4,000 COVID deaths in late summer and fall if cases spike atop the 20,000 since the start of the pandemic last year already. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration lifted the last major COVID restrictions on June 22nd and had not ordered new ones amid the steady rise in cases over the past month. She has resisted following the lead of governors in 10 states and issuing a mask mandate for schools, but has strongly recommended that districts require them. We'll have more on that in just a few minutes. Amid the debate, there have been nearly 2,000 breakthrough cases among the vaccinated in the week ending in August 11th out of just 8,100 new total infections during that same time period. Public health officials long said breakthrough cases are inevitable because of the vaccines being 90 to 95% effective. Recent studies have shown lower rates of effectiveness, however, especially against the Delta variant, with one study from 5 states finding that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was only 42% effective against the Delta strain of COVID-19. But medical experts have said breakthrough cases would likely involve less serious illnesses and deaths. This in a quote from Dr. Dennis Cunningham, the director of Henry Ford Health System's Infection Control and Prevention. We are seeing breakthrough cases. We are also seeing breakthrough disease in the very frail elderly, but we are not seeing healthy people who received the vaccine hospitalized, which again shows you how effective these vaccines are at this time. From a peak of over 400,000 first doses given in a week in early April, vaccination rates fell quickly with fewer than 29,000 first doses given in the second week of July. So far, over 4.7 million Michiganders have been fully vaccinated, and there have been 12,121 documented infections among the vaccinated, or 0.3% of those fully vaccinated against COVID-19. So we're seeing breakthrough cases continue to happen, as is expected, but the entire point of these vaccines from the onset, for what was being told by Pfizer-BioNTech, from Moderna, from Johnson & Johnson, from our local, state, and federal health officials, was that these vaccines are not going to necessarily prevent somebody from being a carrier or being infected with COVID-19. It will, however, if working fully effectively in one person or another, more than likely prevent severe cases of COVID-19 that would then lead to hospitalization and or death, and that's the whole point of getting those vaccines. So as cases in the state of Michigan continue to be on the uptick and we continue to go back into more social situations, especially as the school year begins and those under the age of 12 are not eligible to get the vaccine, those concerns are going to continue to grow, which is why in our next story, Michigan's top doctor has asked Governor Gretchen Whitmer for school mask mandates. The governor, however, has not budged. This from the Detroit Free Press. Detroit Free Press. The state's top doctor said Wednesday that she has advised Governor Gretchen Whitmer that a mask mandate for K-12 schools would keep children safe when they return to classrooms this fall. But the governor and the state health department director, Elizabeth Hertel, have yet to take action on that recommendation. In a quote from Dr. Jonae Caldoun, the chief medical executive of the State Department of Health and Human Services, she said, quote, "I have recommended that if a mask mandate were in place and it were followed, it would likely decrease the spread of COVID-19. She continued on, "I am concerned about what is happening and what could potentially happen with our schools. We have put out and updated our guidance last week and specifically recommended that schools implement a universal mask requirement so that we can protect our students and keep them in-person learning. We continue to work very closely with our local health departments, providing information to our local superintendents as well. We do understand that there currently is a law that would allow us to implement that mandate, but at this time the governor and the director have not made that determination," end closed quote. Why not? Dr. Caldoun couldn't say. She said, quote, "I cannot speak to that. I do know that my lane is to provide public health guidance, but I also recognize that there are many other things that have to be considered when it comes to implementing it," end closed quote. Governor Whitmer's spokesperson, Bobby Leddy, declined to say why the governor's administration has yet to issue a school mask mandate and did not confirm whether Dr. Caldoun made such a recommendation. Instead, he pointed to the state's recent public health guidelines that encourage school districts to put in place their own mask requirements to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Leddy noted that nearly 60 local school districts in Michigan have issued mask mandates so far. That amounts to roughly 11% of the state's 537 school districts. Quote, "Most children cannot be vaccinated and will be spending hours together inside classrooms," end close quote, said Sarah Lynn Callow, the state's top epidemiologist and director of the Bureau for Epidemiology and Population Health. New data released Wednesday by the state health department shows that if one elementary school child infected with the Delta variant of the coronavirus attends a class of 25 students and no masks are worn, it would take just 3 hours to infect half of the students in the room. We are already seeing children who are testing positive, said Dr. Adnan Munkara, the Executive Vice President and Chief Clinical Officer for Henry Ford Health System. We are seeing that there are hospitals around the nation that are filling up with pediatric patients because of COVID. So COVID is not sparing children at this present time. But mask requirements for schools is a polarizing topic, and mandates are opposed by many prominent Republicans. The Michigan Republican Party issued a statement this week denouncing mask mandates, and Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, a Republican from Clark Lake, called mask requirements, quote, the dumbest thing, end close quote. Shirkey argued children are at extremely low risk for COVID-19, pointing to the data that shows a small number of children who have died nationally from the disease. However, more than 1,900 kids were hospitalized over the weekend because of COVID-19, the most of any point during the pandemic. And they can also develop multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children, which occurs weeks after the initial coronavirus infection and leads to hospitalization in about 70% of kids who get it, which was said, of course, by Sarah Lynn Callow, the state's top-ranking epidemiologist. Michigan now has moved to a high transmission rate under the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's threshold. That means that more than 100 new cases of coronavirus per 100,000 residents has been confirmed in the last week. However, people who are about 54.9% of Michiganders ages 12 and older are fully vaccinated and have gotten either 2 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech or the Moderna COVID-19 vaccines, or 1 dose, of course, of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Nearly 60% have gotten at least 1 dose. So this is going to continue to be a debate as we go into the school year, as we progress through the school year, and especially as we start to get data coming in after schools begin on transmission rate in the schools. Should it be a problem? Of course, this will become an even hotter debate, and more people will, of course, then call for mask mandates. But that debate's going to continue to be ongoing. It's certainly not going to be an issue that's solved before most of these schools open. I would presume that we go into the Labor Day weekend, we go into the second and third week of school, and we start to see how numbers may or may not change among younger populations, especially those under 12 years old. And then at that point, we'll start to see more decisions maybe be made on this matter. Some good news in the state of Michigan: unemployment rates are continuing to drop. This from the Oakland Press. Michigan's economy continues to return to pre-pandemic levels, according to figures released by the state on Wednesday. The state's jobless rate decreased by 0.2 of a point to 4.8% in July, according to data released by the Department of Technology, Management, and Budget. It was at 5% in June. The state's unemployment rate peaked at a high of 24% in April of 2020 and has been around 5% for most of this year. Nationally, unemployment fell by a 0.5 percentage point between June and July to 5.4%, 0.6% higher than Michigan's rate. Over the year, the U.S. rate went down by 4.8 percentage points, while the statewide rate decreased by 4.2 percentage points. Michigan's job numbers are headed in the right direction. Our unemployment rate is below the national average, and businesses are staffing up fast, said Governor Gretchen Whitmer in a release issued by her office. This marks the lowest state unemployment rate since the lockdown brought on by COVID-19 caused historically high unemployment in March of 2020, according to Wayne Rourke, Associate Director of the Bureau of Labor Market Information and Strategic Initiatives. The Metro Detroit region's jobless rate, which includes Lapeer, Livingston, Macomb, Oakland, St. Clair, and Wayne counties, dropped by 6.8 percentage points in the past year to just 4.3%, though the labor force remained 80,000 below year-ago levels, which has caused limits on business growth in some sectors. Quote, despite our 7 months of decreasing employment, however, we still have a lot of work left to do to help every family, community, and small business participate in our economic jumpstart, said Governor Whitmer. She continued, right now we have an unprecedented opportunity to use the massive influx of federal funds that we have received to make tangible, lasting investments in the kitchen table issues that impact Michigan families and small businesses, most childcare, skills, training, job creation, housing, and more. You can find more about that on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, and get that full article from our friends over at the Oakland Press. And lastly, as we continue through this pandemic and more experts are put on the front lines at various levels, we continue to see more Michiganders and former employees of the state government and Governor Whitmer's administration join President Joe Biden's administration. And the latest is former Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Director Robert Gordon. This article from the Detroit News. President Joe Biden intends to nominate the former health director Robert Gordon to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the White House said on Wednesday. Biden is tapping Robert Gordon to serve as Assistant Secretary for Financial Resources at the agency. Of course, it was a big story here and a controversial story here in the state of Michigan as Gordon abruptly resigned on January 22nd as Governor Gretchen Whitmer's Director of Health and Human Services, which he had led during the state's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Gordon is currently senior counsel at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities and senior advisor for poverty solutions at the University of Michigan, according to the White House. Robert Gordon was subpoenaed to testify in April before a state oversight hearing where he seemed to be unclear about the specific reasons for the governor's decision, revealing she told him over a video conference that it was time to go in a new direction. That, of course, in relation to his exit. Gordon also said there were disagreements between himself and the governor about elements of the state's reopening plans. The Detroit News previously reported he had advocated for a more cautious approach to reopening restaurants, according to email communications obtained through a public records request. Gordon has said that Whitmer's administration offered him a separation deal through the Michigan Attorney General's office, and the payment was, quote, for entering the agreement, and closed quote. He later said, quote, "It was made clear to me that the governor wanted to go in a new direction, and I, as a public servant and an at-will employee, understood what that meant and resigned," and closed quote. Gordon's separation deal became public in March as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request by the Detroit News. Under the terms of the agreement, Robert Gordon received $155,506 in exchange for dropping any potential legal claims against the state and maintaining confidentiality about the circumstances that led to his departure. So, of course, he is being tapped for this position in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to serve as Assistant Secretary for Financial Resources. Certainly has the qualifications. Gordon served as a senior official at the New York City Department of Education, spent time as a Capitol Hill staffer, clerked for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and helped to create the AmeriCorps program as a White House aide. Additionally, he served as acting department director at the White House Office of Management and Budget under former President Barack Obama and worked in policy development at the U.S. Department of Education. So Joe Biden taking some former employees here from the state of Michigan and bringing them into his administration as they continue to address the COVID-19 pandemic, certainly on the financial end. And Robert Gordon has those qualifications. That being said, there's certainly going to be some blowback from here in the state of Michigan, I would presume, from the GOP side of the aisle, given the circumstances of Robert Gordon's exit from the state of Michigan with the quote-unquote hush money that was provided to him in his exit agreement with Governor Whitmer's administration, especially considering that information took a Freedom of Information request to get out to the public when after he suddenly resigned late in January. Find more information on that article from the Detroit News. Read the entire thing and support our local journalists as well by reading their articles in full by clicking on the links on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. In addition, you'll find information directly from the resources you should be going to first for COVID-19 information. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the state of Michigan, and Oakland County. All of that is on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we got a great show ahead for you today. I'll be speaking with Dan Carmody, the president of the Eastern Market Partnership. At the end of the first hour of the show, we'll speak with Patrick O'Connor. He's the college counselor and author of College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. In the second hour of the show, I'll speak with Stacy Bisop from the Pontiac Farmers Market, John Fitzgerald, Chief of Police in Keego Harbor. We'll also speak with Tim Mcgrane. He is the CEO over at M1 Concourse in Pontiac. And we'll finish off the show by speaking to Oakland University anthropology professor John Carroll about one of their new academic minor programs. That coming up. You're watching and listening to the Megacast on our family of TV, radio, and other media outlets.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We're pleased to be joined now by Dan Carmody. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership, joining us now on the Megacast. Dan, thanks for being with us today.
Good morning.
Appreciate having you on. What are some things going on now at the Eastern Market Partnership?
Well, it's a busy season. We're in full swing. Michigan harvest is underway. So last night, for example, I was at the overnight wholesale market, and that's when 20 or 30 of our larger growers show up, and a lot of independent grocers drive their semis down and buy pallets worth of product that's generally in their stores today. So that's that freshness of local product that really distinguishes sometimes what people can get in Michigan versus some other parts of the country that don't have the diversity of crops that Michigan farmers produce. Saturday market, year-round, but it's enjoying a good season. Attendance recovered from some of the lows of the pandemic. We still have we're out a few vendors. COVID cost us some vendors in terms of people taking early retirement, and some vendors haven't been able to find staff to get up all of their sales points. So we're still down a few vendors, but crowds have been good. The neighborhood's alive. There's a lot going on around the Eastern Market District. So it's become we've returned to the normalcy, and to the extent that people come down and enjoy themselves more than just shopping at the market, and enjoy some of the food and beverage opportunities and retail sales opportunities that are located around the market. Our seasonal markets, Tuesday, which is a scale model of the Saturday market that also includes health and fitness activities such as Zumba and yoga. That's in full swing till the end of September. And the Sunday street market, which features merchandise and a little bit of food rather than food with a little bit of merchandise, which is the Saturday market, it also is in full swing till the end of September. And then that market comes back on a holiday format on the Sundays between Thanksgiving and Christmas, as people look for unique, locally made gift items for the holiday season. So, the seasonal markets actually have enjoyed a strong year in 2021, coming off a rather lackluster year during the height of the pandemic last year. And then lastly, with regard to a lot of the special events that happen in Eastern Market, they're coming back very slowly in the post-pandemic era. Last year, so many of our events were wiped out, postponed, or canceled. And this year, we're starting to see them pop up. We will have the Fall Beer Festival by the Michigan Beer Guild. That's on Saturday, the 23rd of October. But we will not be hosting tailgating this year. That was a decision that we struggled with for quite a while. Lions tailgating at Eastern Market is quite a tradition, but it's very labor intensive. There's a lot of security. There's a lot of cleanup. and we simply just did not have the staff on hand to be able to adequately staff that function. So we hope that in 2022 we'll return to the tailgating business in a serious way.
We're joined by Dan Carmody. He's the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us on the Megacast. And Dan, let's talk a little bit about the tailgating situation this year, because as you said, it's not going to be available for tailgating before Lions football games in 2021 due to a staffing issue. You do hope to have that back in 2022. Will parking still be available for Lions fans down at the Eastern Market Partnership at all during the season?
I believe that street parking will be available, but it's hard to enforce a no tailgating ban in our surface parking lots. So there will be no parking allowed in our lots, but there will be parking allowed on the street. Detroit Police will be enforcing no tailgating. You can park, but you can't party out of your car.
We're joined by Dan Carmody. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us on the Megacast. And we've talked a lot so far about sort of a return to normalcy, a gradual return to normalcy of operations there at the Eastern Market Partnership, of course, with some of the remaining factors in place, such as staffing being an issue, people moving on, vendors retiring due to the COVID-19 situation. As we're in a position that we're in right now, with the Delta variant and the uptick in COVID-19 cases locally, what is Eastern Market doing to continue to monitor the situation? Are any changes to be expected in the experience or the operations over there as a result of this uptick in COVID-19 cases?
Yeah, we're real proud of the fact that we never closed during the pandemic, and that we tried to keep a close hand on the best facts we had available, and when we needed to, we required masks, and when we didn't, we let that requirement lapse. And so we're monitoring the situation closely. Most of the market this time of year is an outdoor function, so there's a little bit more safety there than a lot of indoor shopping opportunities. So again, close monitoring of data, and if we have to lead back with a mask mandate, we'll do what we have to do.
So at this time, what are requirements, if any, are there for people that are coming in from the outside? If people are wanting to go to tomorrow's Saturday market, should they be prepared to bring a mask? Do they have to be vaccinated?
They do not have to have a mask, and we have no way of enforcing or knowing, the vaccine is. The mask would be the pivotal point for us when we begin to tighten things down, if we do so in the future. We still recommend masks. We do have, Detroit's vaccination rate is, not as high as it should be. So we do have customers who come from the city that we know are not vaccinated. So I choose to wear a mask, even though I have been vaccinated, just as a way to help make sure that I'm not inadvertently spreading anything on to people who haven't been vaccinated. So right now, there's no requirement, just a recommendation that wear a mask if you feel responsible for trying to limit the spread.
We're joined by Dan Carmody on the Megacast. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us today. And for those that maybe are not comfortable with the situation right now because of the Delta variant, because of the uptick in cases, but they want to continue to support local, to support these vendors, to support Eastern Market Partnership, are there avenues that are in place for people to continue to provide that support without necessarily having to go out into the public and go through the regular experience down at Eastern Market?
Yes, we do have a response that we began in the height of COVID lockdown. We have a curbside service that's available at our website. It's too late to order this week, but if you go to www.easternmarket and search for curbside, you'll see a link to an ordering site that's open. I believe it's from Sunday through Wednesday, and basically you pre-order, and then you pick up without getting out of your car as you drive through the market. And while those numbers are down from what they were early in the pandemic, we've been able to. We're happy that there's a lot of loyalty to that program, and we're able to sustain that program with a significant number of regular customers that have continued to support local farmers in that way, rather than the traditional shopping the stalls live at a market on Saturday or Tuesday.
So you've got a special event that's going on right now. Actually, it begins later on today at 5 p.m., the Sweetest Heart of Mary Pierogi Festival of 2021. You care to give us a little bit of an overview about what people can expect if they're going down to Eastern Market to attend this event?
Well, actually, that's at the campus of the church, which is a few blocks north of Eastern Market. It's actually at Canfield and Russell Street, or Canfield into Quinders. So if you set your auto direction capabilities to those intersection streets, it'll get you to one of the most beautiful churches in all of Metro Detroit. If you've never been to the Sweetest Heart of Mary Church, it is truly a spectacular church, and it's home to the Polish community in Metro Detroit. And I try to make Pierogi Festival every year. I'll be there. Great pierogies and other Polish-centric foods and entertainment, and it's a great event.
You can find more information on this event at Eastern Market's website, easternmarket.org, and that event, of course, is, as Dan corrected me, at the Sweetest Heart of Mary Church, located at 4440 Russell Street in Detroit. And it's their 40th anniversary, so it's a big milestone as well for the church down there, and so that makes this event even more important, especially as we're coming back out in 2021 and having more of these events back in the community that we weren't able really to have in close proximity in 2020.
Take advice from me. I think the festival runs today, tomorrow, and Sunday.
Yes.
And I showed up at 3 o'clock on a Sunday one year and couldn't find one pierogi left. So you don't want that to happen to you. They're really excellent pierogies, and they're homemade by members of the congregation, and it's just a great event.
Yeah, the event begins today, 5 o'clock to 10 p.m., Saturday, August 14th, 12 noon to 9 p.m., and Sunday, August 12th, 12 p.m. until 5 p.m. And that, of course, is the Sweetest Heart of Mary Pierogi Festival 2021. It'll be at the church itself, at the Sweetest Heart of Mary Church on Russell Street in Detroit. You can find more information on easternmarket.org. And in terms of the needs of the partnership right now, Dan, of course, throughout the pandemic, organizations such as yours and others throughout the community, they really needed more help from the community than ever before in the form of donations. Is that still the case at Eastern Market? Are donations still really critical, or is Eastern Market at a point right now where they are managing and sort of getting back to a sense of normalcy?
We're always in addition to operating the market, we spend a lot of time and resources addressing food access issues, which actually accelerated during the pandemic. So we were fortunate last year to receive a USDA contract and deliver 2,000 food boxes a week to people in need between May and September. And quite frankly, that income from doing that program from the USDA replaced the loss of revenue from not having the events or from having fewer vendors. This year, and we also suppressed a lot of our one-time maintenance costs for a while. We just put work off. This year, we don't have the advantage of the USDA program. We've tried to continue a smaller box delivery program with generous support from individuals and philanthropy, but we haven't been able to restrain our costs. So we're actually in a little worse situation than we were last year because our revenues are still down. Events are coming back, but not to the level they were. It's going to take a couple of years to get that back to where it was. And again, our revenue income from rentals to vendors is still below what it is, even if customer traffic is approaching normalcy. So, we're still in a little bit of a need. The work we do around food access is just as important, and so we've been trying to not cut programs there when people are in need. And then we also do a lot of work in food entrepreneurship. And so we're building out a support system for emerging food businesses. And there are the high construction costs. We have a capital project. We know firsthand that construction costs have increased significantly. So those are some of the financial stress points. Revenues are still down. So yeah, we do have ability to contribute to the organization on our website at www.easternmarket.org. We also have our gala coming up. So we'll be returning to a live gala. That's scheduled for Friday, October 8th, and it's upwards of 400 people in one of our big sheds. And this year, we're pleased to announce that Chef Anthony Lombardo from She-Wolf is the master chef, and it's a 10-course farm-to-table dinner, second to none. So that the quality of that offering for nonprofit fundraisers, we take full advantage of our role as one of the centers of Michigan food and agriculture to roll out a pretty tasty offering.
We're joined by Dan Carmody on the Megacast. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us today. And Dan, a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. In terms of market hours and activities, are they starting to return back to some sort of normalcy? Are there still some odd hours and modified hours due to staffing and so on?
Our Saturday market is 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. And effectively, one effect of the pandemic is that vendors tend to sell out sooner. There's more buying and less browsing is one outcome of the pandemic. And so while we're open to 4, you should get there before 3 o'clock. Sundays are 10 to 4, and Tuesdays are 9 to 3. And those are all good hours, and we welcome you to enjoy the ambience of Eastern Market and not only under the sheds, but get out and explore the district. And most of our businesses are back open with normal business hours. So, and they're open. Oh, by the way, they're open 6 or 7 days a week, so you don't have to wait for market day to come down to enjoy the district. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We want to hear it all. But Dan, I've actually never been able to make it down to the Eastern Market. I've always wanted to go. So for someone like me that hasn't yet had the opportunity to go down there, what are some must-haves or must-tries?
Well, first of all, you want to get the heart of the market and to really enjoy the ambience of the market. Come on preferably a sunny summer day and come between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. And you're going to find one of the most compelling urban markets in the United States. In normal times, 30 to 35,000 people. We're probably more in the 25 to 30,000 range. It is all of Metro Detroit. We come together across the lines that sometimes separate us, and people leave feeling better for not only great agricultural products and healthcare products and a few specialty merchandise items, but also because they enjoy the diversity of people that the region features. And so please come and wear your walking shoes, shop the market, buy a lot of merchandise, make our vendors happy, but then also get out and explore the district. And you're going to find I'll give you 3 or 4 sort of interesting things that you might want to explore. Number one is we were recognized by Smithsonian Magazine in 2019 as having one of the 6 best mural festivals in the world. We ran an event called Murals in the Market for 5 years. We've taken the last couple of years off because of the pandemic. But you'll see a collection of visual art around Eastern Market, second to none anywhere. And a lot of them involve, important social themes. Others are just great pieces of art. Secondly, come hungry. There's a lot of different food and beverage options. Last year, we completed a streetscape project on Riopelle Street. And so on market days now, there's massive outdoor drinking and dining opportunities on Riopelle Street featuring Eastern Market Brewing Company and Detroit City Distillery. But some of our old standbys like Birds and Thomas McGee's and Vivio's are also been outside prior to the pandemic and continuing on. And then there's great specialty merchandise available around the market district, from Detroit Hustles Harder to Vintage Eastern Market, which is a consortium of antique stalls located a couple blocks away, to Savvy Chic, one of the finest home decorating boutiques in the metro area. So you'll find a great pet shop, 3 dogs, 1 cat. You'll find a private marketplace called Gratiot Central that features 150 feet of meat on 2 aisles, locally known as 300 feet of meat. So any protein product you're interested in, you can find, across the freeway that bisects Eastern Market from north to south at Gratiot Central Market. Those are just a few of the highlights.
We're joined by Dan Carmody. He's the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us today on the Megacast. Dan, a few more minutes with you before we say goodbye. And as we get into the late summer and into the fall, what are some other things? You, of course, mentioned Pierogi Fest, which will be going on over the weekend. And then coming up, you have your annual gala that's coming back this year. What are some other things that are on the docket coming up down at Eastern Market?
Fall Beer Festival by the Michigan Beer Guild, which is usually a 2-day affair. This year, just one day on Saturday, the 23rd or 4th of October. We will, the feature this year is, as in most years, is that this is the time of year where Michigan agriculture is at its peak bounty. And it was this year, the growing season was not an easy one, the rains of this week. So we have some growers who are normally back mid-July are just now getting back to the market. But the product is starting to roll in, and as usual, it is both spectacular to look at and even better to eat. And so I know for myself, as an empty nester, I have to practice a lot of restraint to make sure I'm not overbuying every week and wasting food that otherwise could go into someone else's palate. So for us, it's the star attraction this time of year is the beauty of both the aesthetics of Michigan harvest and its great taste. So I don't want to dilute the product offering. Come on a Saturday, come early and see the bounty of Michigan agriculture.
Well, Dan, we appreciate having you on, and thank you for taking the time today.
My pleasure, anytime. Thanks, guys.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in our studios here in West Bloomfield as we continue to bring you the latest information about COVID-19 and the impact it's having not only on our public health situation, but in all sectors of life, including the life of our students, especially those who are looking to take the next step in their education and head off to college. But one local person is helping them bridge that gap a little bit with some advice and some helpful tips for preparing themselves for the applications and putting their best foot forward so they can have the best opportunities possible. And that person is Patrick O'Connor. He is a college counselor and chief strategist and CEO at College is Yours, and the author of College is Yours 3. Live your life, apply to college, no need to freak. Patrick, thanks for being with us today.
Morning, Tyler. Thanks for letting me join you today.
Yeah, glad to have you on. Patrick was Associate Dean of College Counseling for Cranbrook Schools for 8 years, and so he has a wealth of experience in helping kids prepare for college. So right now, how much different is the college application process, or has it been since 2020, since the pandemic, than in the year before and the 5 years before and so on?
Yeah, well, it certainly has changed quite a bit, Tyler. As you can imagine, students who used to visit college campuses before they applied don't always have the opportunity to do that in person. And so now they're spending a lot more time online investigating their colleges. And then we also, of course, have students who are simply trying to figure out if they should apply to college now, given that many colleges looks like they're heading back to being online, and some students are looking and thinking, is that really what I want my college experience to be, or should I wait a while until I apply and wait till this all blows over, if it ever does? So a lot of changes going on, that's for sure.
And in terms of the application process, we saw last year, because of the conditions of the pandemic, because of what students were dealing with in their virtual classrooms for the most part, that a lot of these colleges were more relaxed on their test score requirements, where they either made them optional or said that we're doing away with them. Same thing with the essays and letters of recommendation. Are we seeing that's the trend that they're going now, that those reliefs that were put in place because of the pandemic might be more commonplace going forward?
The test optional has actually been a trend that's been growing for the last 15 years, and it really blossomed during COVID. And most every college that was test optional last year is again test optional this year. We are seeing a little bit more reliance on the essays because realistically, it's important for students to tell their story. Test scores, if you send them, or grades, are just numbers, and the essays become more important because they show who you are. And of course, students are going to want to talk about how they've survived during COVID. But my advice to them is don't spend all your time on that topic. Let them know the complete person who you are. So for this year, we're seeing a greater reliance, we think, on essays. And for teacher letters of recommendation, if you can find a teacher who really came to know you well in the last year or so.
By and large, are college applications getting more complicated as time goes on, or are they getting simpler? Because I know when I filled out applications for college, and mind you, this was at this point, let me just check the calendar, about 9 years ago at this point, you had to answer a number of different questions. You had several different short essays to put into applications. You had to get, I think, 3 or 4 letters of recommendation, and that was just for the Common App. Are we seeing that things are getting a lot simpler now, and how is that impacting the approach that kids are taking in their college application process?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. The truth is that way more than half of the colleges in the United States, you can actually probably fill out that application in about 30 minutes or less. Wow. And most students are surprised to see that. They always worry about things like interviews. Very, very few colleges are now interviewing as a result of everything. Letters of recommendation tend to be the next thing that colleges will ask for. And some will ask for essays, but even those schools are, in some cases, limiting those number to maybe 2, if that many. So, for students who are wondering if this is really the hassle that they've heard it is, I urge my students to think about it like getting ready for prom or getting your driver's license. There's lots of things you need to do to get ready for those big events in your life, but you never see them as an inconvenience because you're thinking about how great it's going to be once you're at prom or once you do get your license. Think about how great it's going to be once you're actually on that college campus and moving on with your life. I think then you'll find that whatever steps you might need to take are going to be pretty easy to take as a result of keeping the goal in mind and how wonderful that is.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor on the Megacast, a college counselor and chief strategist and CEO at College Is Yours. And Patrick, you have also authored College Is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. How is this publication, how is this book helpful to students that are thinking about applying to colleges or that are already undergoing the process of applying to their colleges of choice?
Well, I think this book separates itself from a lot of other college guides in the approach that we take towards making the application. College is really what's next in your life, and so in order for you to make a wise choice, you always need to think about who you are and what matters to you. So many people read the articles in the media about the colleges that only admit 3% of their students, and what do I have to do to make the colleges happy? That's really not the approach you want to take. The approach you really want to take is what colleges out there are going to be the right place for me to continue to grow and receive support and live my life and enjoy it. If you keep that front and center, as the book recommends, your college search is going to be a whole lot easier and a lot more enjoyable, as a matter of fact. And it is important to note that, again, somewhere between 60 and 70% of all colleges admit at least 50% of their students, Most students don't know that. They think most colleges only admit about 3 or 4 people every year, and that's just not the case at all. So these are the points we try and outline in the book, because our goal is to have the students really almost enjoy the process, and we think they can do that if they look at it the right way and receive the right support.
And part of that is noteworthy here is that in the process of reading College is Yours 3, they're also having an opportunity to fill out a mock college application as well, and put those pieces of advice that they're collecting over the course of reading this book into practice.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if students or parents read the book, they'll see that you actually apply to a college in the introduction to the book, which some people thought was a little crazy. But the reality is we wanted to get the students in front of an application just to see how easy it is. Because a lot of times, again, they're coming in with all these stories they've heard from their friends about how tough it is to apply to college. In having them apply as they read the introduction to the book, we want them to de-stress. We want them to look at it and say, geez, that wasn't too tough at all. And so our goal is to really have the student understand that they're in charge of this process and that they really are in control, and that they can enjoy the process as they go along, because this is really all about talking about yourself.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He's a college counselor and the chief strategist and CEO of College is Yours. And in your book, College is Yours 3, you also take a different approach than a lot of these help books that are out there for a number of different topics, but also for advice on applying for colleges, where you take more of a conversational tone. Most of your chapters here, you said, it says can be read in about 3 minutes. Why take that approach when providing this advice to the kids? Is it because you're trying to guide them, take more of a guiding approach, or do you find that that's more that's better received in your experience, having worked on the front lines with kids, in terms of providing advice in this process?
Yeah, I think it's, Tyler, you hit it right on the head there. I think it's actually a little bit of both. The book is really designed to be read twice by students, once from cover to cover, and then once as they're going through the process. So if they're coming up to a place where it's time to write a college essay, I want them to be able to go back to the specific chapter, receive the advice that they need, the key points, and use those in a major way. You can't really do that if the chapter's 25 pages long. So we try and limit our pages to 2 or 3 so that students get the key ideas and then are able to bring them to life as they apply. So it's a little bit of both. My experience as a college counselor has also said, less is more. I once had a student who wanted me to text how to get into college, and I didn't quite figure out how to do that, but I think College is Yours goes a long way to getting to the point, giving them the support they need, and letting them get on their way.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He's the author of College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. And in terms of what kids should be doing as they're preparing to apply, part of the process, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, you touched on this, that kids are often reading in articles or seeing on the news, these are the top colleges for these are the top programs that are producing jobs from college graduates across the U.S. and they're kind of compartmentalizing. Well, I got to go to this university or this college. What is your advice to kids, especially today with the current situation with colleges and universities and with the application process? How many schools should they be focusing on, and how should they be narrowing down those schools so that they're putting their best foot forward at places that are going to ultimately be the best institutions for them?
Well, really the best way to put your college list together is to think about the qualities you're looking for in a college. So, you might hear about a college and say, boy, and do some investigation and say, boy, this is really a great place for me. The next step is to ask why. What's there that makes that particular college special? By the way, that's something colleges will want to know when you apply. One of their most common essay questions is, what's here that sets us apart from the other places? What makes our college special to you? Once you have those qualities together, we usually recommend that students think about applying to anywhere from 6 to 10 colleges, 2 colleges where, based on your grades, you're probably going to have a pretty easy chance of getting in, 2 where your grades are about where everybody else's are who gets into that college. And then 2, what we call reach schools, where your grades might not quite be what the average student is at that school, but you really like the place and feel like your essays and your letters of recommendation can make a difference in the application process. So many students usually hover in around 6 or so. In some cases, they can get as high as 10, but we always want to make sure students aren't taking any more applications than they can do well on. We want to make sure there's plenty of time to put your best foot forward as you fill out those forms.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He is the author of College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. And Patrick, just a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. In terms of what are some of the don'ts that kids should be aware of in the college application process, what are some common mistakes that parents and kids are making as they're looking for colleges and as they're applying for colleges, especially today when they're trying to put so much effort into this and they're trying to really be competitive with other students in their applications?
Yeah, well, the common mistakes that you really want to be careful of begins with building your college list. I often, I saw a few students in my time where basically their list was based on the college rankings from U.S. News and other places. And you have to keep in mind, those rankings are based on the impressions of college presidents. And if a college president doesn't happen to be your next door neighbor, those schools probably aren't going to be the best places for you to look. So approach the college rankings with caution. Do your own investigation and find out if this is a place that's really going to be great for you. In terms of the actual application itself, I would say the real challenge there with both parents and students tends to be essays. They either write too little and do too many, don't do enough drafts, or they write way too much, and then the essay actually becomes pretty uninteresting. And this is a gentle reminder to mom and dad that this process is the students, not the parents. So the person who should be filling out the forms and writing the essays is indeed the student. And if the student needs help with that, your school counselor, your college counselor is there to provide that assistance for you. And of course, we hope you'll turn to College is Yours 3 for advice on how to make this a successful process for yourself as well. So I would say, watch the essays. Be careful not to go crazy with extracurricular activities. They'd rather see you do 3 or 4 really meaningful activities than just have about 15 clubs that you don't really do anything in. And watch those college choices based on rankings. That's really not the way to go.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He is the college counselor and chief strategist and CEO at College is Yours. And in terms of your book, College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak, where can people get this book and start reading through it and helping their kids or helping themselves through their college process?
Yep, it's available on Amazon and has been doing pretty well lately. It's in the top 100 of college guides, which is great for a new book. So you can pick it up at Amazon. If there are any educators out there who are looking to do a group buy, they can contact me at collegeisyours.com, and I can give you a link to get a group buy for your students where you're going to get a really nice price on the book as well.
Well, Patrick, we appreciate you coming on with us today. Anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to know before we say goodbye today?
I think the other piece I would recommend is that students and parents need to stay in communication on a regular basis. Set 20 minutes aside once a week to talk about college, but try and limit your college discussion to that 20-minute period. We don't want mom and dad interrogating the student every 5 minutes because that's just going to make them more nervous. So let's work together to create a calm, supportive, productive environment for students to make their best college decision and move on to what's next in their lives.
Well, we appreciate it. Patrick O'Connor joining us on the Megacast today. He is the CEO and chief strategist at College is Yours. And of course, you can find his book, College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak, on Amazon.com. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we will go down to Pontiac for the Pontiac Farmers Market. We'll be joined by 3 people from that group to talk about what's going on at the Farmers Market and some fun upcoming events as we head into Woodward Dream Cruise season. That coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, Let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. You're listening to us on your radio home for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. In addition, today, as always, we're on cable television in southeastern Michigan on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 on Civic Center TV and Birmingham Area Municipal Access. We're on the web, civiccentertv.com, as well as our Facebook pages, facebook.com/civiccentertv15 and facebook.com/Lakes FM, and all throughout the state of Michigan and around the world on My Michigan TV, Michigan's streaming network. Find more information on mymitv.com. That is mymitv.com. You can find My Michigan Television on your smartphone app store as well as on your smart TV app store as well. As we continue to talk to people from all across the state of Michigan about a number of topics that are impacting our communities, impacting our people, and trying to get everybody back out and about and engaging with their community as we get further along here in this pandemic and get more people vaccinated and more people safe from COVID-19. And that includes our friends over at the Pontiac Farmers Market. We're pleased to be joined by the executive director of the Pontiac Farmers Market, Stacy Bisop, as well as Jermaine Max, the Branner program coordinator for the Farmers Market, and Margot Zack, operations manager of the Pontiac Farmers Market. We appreciate having you guys on today.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you on. So tell us a little bit about what's going on down at the Pontiac Farmers Market right now.
So we are putting on a series of pop-up events at 48 West Huron, which is right at the corner of Woodward and Huron. And it is the Pontiac Farmers Market, where we're bringing together fresh food access, entertainment, supporting small local businesses, and other assorted food vendors and artisans.
We're joined by a number of people from the Pontiac Farmers Market. June was the grand opening of the market. On top of course, those live events, what else is offered at the market, and when are your hours?
Should I take these answering them, or how is the best way to?
Go ahead. Go ahead for this one.
Okay, great. So this Sunday is the next farmers market, which is August 22nd from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, so and you can find more information on the Pontiac Farmers Market on pontiacfarmersmarket.org. We're joined by Stacy Bisop, the executive director of the Farmers Market, Max Branner, the program coordinator, as well as operations manager Margot Zack from the Pontiac Farmers Market, and some other interesting events coming up. And we can talk to let's go with Max on this one. You have some Woodward Dream Cruise programs that are coming up as we go into Dream Cruise season. Can you tell us a little bit about your block party Saturday coming up?
Yeah, so we're giving the watchers and the people that want to participate in the Dream Cruise to get access to a prime location, which we were calling the block party. We will have live entertainment. We will have access to food and the bathrooms, and also for those that's 21 and older, they will get access to alcoholic beverages. So it's exclusive. We will have access to parking as well, so they won't have to worry about where should they park at. And yeah, we're just going to enjoy ourselves and communicate, socialize, and have a good time in one central location right there on the corner of Woodward and Huron.
We're joined by a number of people from the Pontiac Farmers Market with us today on the Megacast. Going back to you, Stacy, of course, we said earlier that June was the grand opening of the Farmers Market, but when did planning for this begin, and why did this Farmers Market come to be?
The planning began during the pandemic, honestly, because a group of us wellness practitioners and community members have seen that there is a lack of food access and education, health education in the city of Pontiac. So we came together, and originally it was going to be a virtual wellness world. And we, as things kind of transitioned with the pandemic, we really saw a need for in-person interaction, education, connection. And that's kind of how we birthed the Pontiac Farmers Market. And so it's been really a year in the planning, and we're still in real life time trying to plan for these pop-ups. And we've had the first two Pontiac Farmers Market pop-ups have been generously sponsored as a Market Day sponsor from Oakland University and their Pontiac Initiative branch. So we're just very appreciative to them for stepping up to help support and believe in what we're doing to bring this education experience. We did a bike giveaway for the last pop-up, so we add a community element. And for this next one on Sunday, we are taking donations for the Pontiac Panthers for any personal hygiene care items. And there is more information on the flyer and on our website, as you had said before, pontiacfarmersmarket.org. So we're really trying to bring that engaging, family-friendly. If you go on our Facebook page, you'll see a bunch of pictures that we're very inclusive of children and just a very community element to the whole program.
And Margot, in terms of the food initiatives at the Farmers Market, of course, there's going to be locally sourced foods that are going to be there, but there's also a focus that's being taken on health education and food education as well. Care to speak a little bit about what that approach is and why take that approach at the Pontiac Farmers Market?
Sure, absolutely. So right now we're working on, we have various food members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're working on various food vendors, bringing them in. There's different phases to the farmers market and different elements to the farmers market. So one, we're trying to focus on, the food access aspect, but we're also trying to work on economic development, because we don't want to just, provide fresh food, but we also want to provide a space for local Pontiac residents to be able to sell their wares and sell other food as well. For the nutrition portion of it, we want to be able to provide information to residents and the community around nutrition, not just nutrition as what they should be eating, in general, but also just to build up their body systems. We're trying to provide that food access piece, and then also nutrition education programs that fit in alongside our vendors. So for example, if we have a vendor that's highlighting beets or squash, then we'll also have a nutrition program that goes along with those specific vendors to try to do that value add, where we're providing information to the residents and supporting our vendors at the same time.
We're joined by Stacy Bisop, the executive director of the Pontiac Farmers Market, Max Branner, the program coordinator, as well as operations manager Margot Zack, today on the Megacast. And Max, to go back to you for this one. Farmers markets like this are not just a way to gather people to support local vendors and support local farmers and other small businesses. It's also a way to build community culture. Talk to us a little bit about the approach that you're taking, that the farmers market is taking, to try to help utilize the farmers market as a way of creating those bonds within the community to build a stronger Pontiac.
So one thing that the pandemic has done, especially to a city like Pontiac, is that most entrepreneurs wasn't able to really showcase their products or to sell their services. And so what we did was we actually were saving a lot of business and entrepreneurs to stay afloat. We're giving the community and the local entrepreneurs a chance to not only socialize, but to get out here to sell their products and to just to make sure that, especially being outdoors, because a lot of the business owners that had a brick and mortars that couldn't sell their products, now they're able to stay outside and to be able to again sell their products. And what we're doing is we're giving local politicians a chance to get out here to talk to the community. We're giving entrepreneurs another chance to talk to each other, to learn some secrets on how to sell and how to trade. And also we're bringing a nonprofit side to this event, giving away products. And so I think that answered your question. And again, just to go back, what Margot was saying is like, Oakland County is a very successful county, but unlike our neighboring cities, Pontiac is #1 for obesity, #1 for cancer, #1 for heart disease. And the pandemic and COVID-19 exposed that, especially with the majority of the population being Black and Latinos, was 3 times more likely to die from the pandemic. So unlike the regular farmers market where we just have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, we're giving them the education part so that they can educate and help themselves on how to prevent from dying from flu, viruses, and things like that. So we're giving them that education piece to help so people can help themselves and get access to the fresh fruits and vegetables.
And Max, even beyond that, and you mentioned the cultural diversity of Pontiac too. And there are so many different cultures, and there are so many different people from different walks of life in Pontiac, yes, and really here in Oakland County as well, and in southeastern Michigan. And another effort that the farmers market is making is to provide programming at the farmers market that helps to mix those cultures, to have that communication so that we get to know our neighbors. How much of a focus has gone into that, especially given what we've seen over the past year and a half and the issues that we've had a number of really important discussions on, to promote that cultural diversity and to, on top of that, have those conversations in our community where we're interacting with our neighbors that are different from us and learning about them and bridging those gaps.
So if you was to visit our market, you will see a very diverse crowd. And I think Stacy or Margot, they have to correct me with the name, but we have a Hispanic organization. I forgot the name of them. I think it's Central El Familia, and it's just a very diversity of organization that's coming in, that's promoting and advertising what they do for the community, because it's things that I didn't know as far as the organization that we have in Pontiac that's really very effective at with the services that they provide. So we have everything from organizations, diverse organization that's providing different foods that come from their culture and their way of life, that's that people from other cultures are actually buying their products. So again, it's like one big potluck of people that's just providing different type of nutritional food that I didn't even know existed in Pontiac. So it's just a great look and a blissful feeling that even myself, that I feel good about just learning things as we go.
And Margot, health doesn't look like one specific thing. It's not a one-size-fits-all definition. Health is really based on personal basis, but there are guiding principles that can be helpful in that. How important is that mindset in providing the programming, particularly on the nutritional side, for people that will be attending the Pontiac Farmers Market? So like Max was saying, they can learn about ways that they can stay healthy in their lifestyle and within their local community.
Right, absolutely. So the way that we look at it is the World Health Organization describes health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And so we really take that to heart, in my business and also within the farmers market, is that we look at health not just as like a one-to-one thing where it's one cause and one outcome, right? So we look at that physical portion of it, providing the food, providing food access. We look at the mental aspect where we're, providing that community, and that social aspect of building each other up. Because, what I've seen through, being a holistic health practitioner and a nutrition counselor is that really the biggest hurdle for people to actually utilize the nutrition programs and the nutrition information is that community portion of it, and is that social portion of it. So that's really what we're trying to focus on there is looking at not only the whole person, but the whole community, and really looking at the root causes of those diseases, like Max mentioned, heart disease is huge, and diabetes. And we know that those are lifestyle factors. We know that those are, nutrition can make a huge impact on those diseases, but we also know that it's from a social perspective, the more that we build each other up in that way, the more likely, the individual is going to have a higher rate of health if the community has a higher rate of health, and the community is going to have a higher rate of health if those individuals have a higher rate of health. So that's why we just look at that whole picture, that physical, mental, and social aspect of nutrition and, health.
We're joined by Executive Director Stacy Bishop, Program Coordinator Max Branner, and Operations Manager Margot Zack from the Pontiac Farmers Market today on the Megacast. And just a few more minutes with the three of you today. Stacy, for those that are interested in all the different programs and all the different vendors that will be at the Farmers Market, where can they find more information, and where is the Farmers Market so they can attend?
So they can find more information on www.pontiacfarmersmarket.org or find us on Facebook. We've got lots of information, pictures. On our website, there is a vendor application form. We are still accepting applications for vendors, and we have a few different dates that we're popping up, and all of those are mentioned on our website. But the next one is this Sunday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it's going to be at the parking lot next to 48 West Huron on the corner of Woodward. And also just mentioning, as we talked about in the beginning of the program, about the block party that's going to be on Saturday, August 21st. It is the weekend of Dream Cruise, and we will be having different offerings, music, bar, bathrooms, other amenities involved. So that also is on our website. And I would also like to just give a shout out to one of our other team members that has been working morning, noon, and night with us, Denise Harris, and she owns Healing Heart Safety, and she teaches CPR safety, and she's been a huge part of this. And that's another aspect of the health and wellness. Yes, it's about the food and the education and the access and all that, but other health aspects. She's a nurse. So we really have all come together, as you can probably hear and see from our core group, as a bunch of health practitioners with a community education passion, really, to summarize it.
Well, we appreciate. Go ahead, Margot.
And just to jump right in, the dates for all of the markets. The next one, again, we have this block party August 21st this weekend. August 22nd is a farmers market. Then September 12th, September 26th, and October 31st. All of those are going to be 1 to 4 p.m. in the parking lot at the corner of Woodward and Huron.
We appreciate having the three of you on, and loved your approach to this farmers market and making it not only a farmers market, but a community market and a place for people to learn and interact with each other as well. So we appreciate it. We're joined by Executive Director Stacy Bisop, Program Coordinator Max Branner, and Operations Manager Margot Zack from the Pontiac Farmers Market. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you on. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll go from Pontiac to their neighbors over in Keego Harbor. We'll speak with Chief of Police John Fitzgerald about parking and about speeding. Both issues not only in Keego Harbor, but in many of our smaller communities here in Oakland County as well. That coming up and more. You're watching and listening to the Megacast on our family of TV, radio, and other media outlets.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township as we continue to talk about news and information that's affecting each and every one of our communities, not only in Oakland County, but throughout the state of Michigan and beyond here on the Megacast each and every day. And down in the city of Keego Harbor, there have been a lot of conversations lately on a number of different issues as the city of Keego Harbor continues to change, and one of those issues is parking. To join us to talk about that now and more is Chief of Police John Fitzgerald, back with us on the Megacast. Chief, thanks for being back with us.
Morning, Tyler. How you doing?
Doing all right. How are things over in the heart of the lakes?
Oh, they're doing great. Thank you very much. Warm weather, nice summer going on. Things are going very well.
Yeah, it's good to hear, and summer's always a busy season over in Keego Harbor, and as people are coming into the city to spend time with friends and with family down by the lakes, and to of course enjoy time on the water and all the activities that they can make in Keego Harbor, that of course causes a little more congestion in a rather small city, which is why parking has become a really hot button issue of late. A couple weeks back, of course, the Planning Commission had a lengthy discussion on parking in the city, and the City Council plans to speak on that as well coming up. Right now, what are some of the main issues with parking in the city of Keego Harbor that are concerns to residents and to those in city leadership as well?
The main issues are actually in Keego Harbor, there is no parking on any streets at any time. There's signs at the entrance to the city and on many of the streets that indicate this, and that's because our streets are so narrow. We have to keep them free for emergency vehicle traffic and even for our residents to move in and out. We're pretty lenient if it comes to, you live in Keego and you're having a special event, call the police department a few days ahead of time. We'll make a note. We'll get your phone number, and we'll give some permission for somebody once or twice a year to have an event at their house that they can utilize some on-street parking. We'll have a phone number so we have an immediate contact if we have an issue that we have to move a car for. But if they don't call us ahead of time, we don't know about it, we haven't talked to them, they end up getting issued the tickets for parking on the street. And once again, it's all about access for emergency vehicles and for the sanitation trucks, the GFL trucks coming through. Our streets are very narrow, and we need that room. The other parking issue comes up on weekends. Most of the time, weekends and holidays, people coming to meet friends out on the sandbar. They can't get them all on the boat, so they tell them to come and park someplace in Keego and come through one of our beaches to walk out on the sandbar. Well, there's very little available public parking in the city of Keego Harbor. It's just the way the city is built, the size. Some people utilize the parking lot at Roosevelt School, but most of the private businesses are posted as tow-away zones because the businesses need those parking spots for themselves. So it's happened a few times this summer. People have gone out to the lake, come back, and their cars weren't there. And it's not because the police are out looking for them. It's because the business needs those spots to keep running their business. And, all these restaurants and everybody who had such a hard time through COVID are trying to get back on their feet. And if you block a customer from coming in because you want to go out to the lake, that's money they're not making and making it harder for them to stay open. So that's where our parking issues come from.
And Chief Fitzgerald, on that note, you mentioned Roosevelt School as being one of those locations, but what are some of the other locations in the city? And I know there's just a few that are public spaces that are permissible for people to park in those situations when they're coming into the city to go to the beaches or just to walk around and for recreational purposes to use the trail, whatever the case may be.
That's it. It's very tough to find any public parking in Keego. If you're going to use the parks, there's like 3 parking spaces at Fran Leaf Park. There's a couple of spaces outside Rose Sorter Park, which is behind City Hall. There's a couple spaces there. And on the weekends, we don't really care if somebody uses the City Hall side of the parking lot, which has 8 to 10 spaces maybe. But that's not a lot for out there on the lake, and that's only on the weekends when City Hall is closed. You can't block off City Hall when it's open. Other than that, there's no real public parking in the city. Everything else is commercial or private property or residential.
We had lots of public comment at the recent Planning Commission meeting a few weeks ago regarding the parking situation. In terms of city leadership and discussions internally, of course, in your case, from the public safety perspective, what is needed in Keego Harbor to address this issue?
The only thing some of these things that could change it, you really can't do. You'd have to widen the roads. Right. To make it so you can park on the street, and our lots, and for the most part, are too small to even think about taking public easement area away from them, because the lots in Keego this was cottage country. These were not made as big suburban rural lots. They're all tight together, and the street's too small to add anything to it. I'm not sure that there is anything else really to do unless we were to find some vacant property for the city to buy up and make parking lots out of. But would it be in a convenient spot? Is it something that's physically feasible? That's what our city council and planning boards are looking into, and that's what they discuss and they find out. And my end of it is the enforcement and education end of it, because I'd rather educate people that they can't park at certain places rather than give them a ticket as the enforcement part.
We're joined by Chief John Fitzgerald from the City of Keego Harbor's Police Department on the Megacast today. And another issue that is not just an issue here in the local area, but has been a growing issue throughout the U.S. over the course of the pandemic. There are several studies that are showing that speeding has become an increased issue, especially as we have less police officers that are out on the road in certain places on a regular basis. And for a small department like yours in Keego Harbor, how much more of a problem, if any more of a problem, has speeding been over the last year and a half or so?
For our department and our city, I don't think the speeding has been near the issue it has been in the like on the freeways, the larger cities, larger streets. I can say that our staffing level has remained the same, so it's not that we've lost any staffing to enforce the speeding laws. You go through Keego Harbor, you have 2 streets that are both 35 miles an hour. That's and we do and always have had people who have violated that speed limit, but our officers have been out there and attempting to enforce it to keep traffic safer here. It's a small, tight city, and we're out there trying to do our job, which also is a reminder that school's going to be starting up again soon, Roosevelt School is out there. You're going to see the police cars out in front of the school trying to detour bad driving habits coming around the school zones. And once again, we're not here about revenue to write speeding tickets to make money. Ours is to enforce the traffic laws to make the streets safer for everybody. Some of it may involve a warning to a driver. Some of it may involve a ticket. It's whatever the officer who makes the traffic stop feels is going to be an effective manner in making this person a safer driver, making the streets safer around here. But, you know, our guys have done a pretty good job of trying to keep a lid on it and keep this from becoming a drag race area, which, you know, there's just really not room for it here in Keego. But you get out on the highways, just going up north last weekend, I saw some crazy driving going on around me and past me while I was out there. So it's still out there a little bit. It's, you know, the roads are definitely getting more crowded than they were, which gives people less room and less opportunity to do that kind of stuff.
We're joined by Chief John Fitzgerald from the Keego Harbor Police Department. Chief Fitz, you've mentioned this on previous editions of the Megacast. We talked about this last year before the schools reopened for in-person learning. There are certain rules that go into place when you're in the school zone, when there are crossing guards that are out there that are different from the general speed limit rules. Obviously, you want to be yielding for anybody that's in a crosswalk, regardless of if it's school children or if it's just a regular person crossing the street. But what are the rules, particularly in front of Roosevelt School, in terms of speed limit changes during school zone times?
Well, we're going to have to see what the school is going to do for its hours this year. I know last year's hours were completely different from any other year because of the COVID. I haven't had a chance to discuss with the principal yet what their hours are going to be. Because last year they had 2 shifts of school, which were outside. Some of the hours were outside of the actual posted school speed limit times, which are there's signs on either end on Cass Lake Road that tell you the times. Also up by Abbott School, there's signs for Orchard Lake Road too. But you have to obey the signs for the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit during the times posted. The other times, you may not know it's a school time because it's not posted and the County Road Commission hasn't had a chance to change the sign. But if you see a police car with its lights going, sitting in the center turn lane, you have to follow the law about the emergency vehicles. You approach an emergency vehicle with its lights activated, you have to slow down to 10 miles an hour underneath the posted speed limit, which posted speed limit is 35. If our car's sitting out there with the lights flashing, you have to slow yourself down to 25 to go by that car and through the area the car's in. And that's why we're sitting right there in the school zone. You know, we're not trying to hide behind billboards and catch you with gotcha tickets. You know, you came into the city and didn't slow down in time. We're right out in the open. You see us, it's a warning to slow down. It's hey, there's kids around here, slow down. Also, you mentioned crossing guards. They have a crossing guard out in front of the school. You have to obey that crossing guard when she or he steps out there with the sign and raises that stop sign. You have to stop for that stop sign. You can't just, oh, they're in the middle of the road, I can go around either side of them. No, you can't do that because they're trying to get those kids across safe. And when the kids see the crossing guard with the sign up, they think it's clear for them to go. So don't disobey the crossing guard when they're out there.
We're joined by Chief John Fitzgerald from the Keego Harbor Police Department. Chief Fitz, just another minute or so with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know about what's going on in the city of Keego Harbor?
Well, you know, we're coming up to the end of summer. It's been a pretty safe summer around here. We still have time on the lakes left. Remember the zones out there on the lake within 100 feet of another boat. You can't have a wake, so you can't go speeding by people on the sandbar. Just be careful out there. We don't want any end of the summer tragedies. We'd like to keep it nice. Everybody enjoy the time out there. And the police, I'd also like to say thank you to the citizens, residents of Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake. They express their appreciation for us an awful lot. I know a lot of times that there's negative press going on around the country about police departments. I can feel the support from our residents, and we're trying to be there for them to protect and to serve them and make them proud of us and do the job they want us here for.
Well, Chief, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, Tyler. Have a great day.
You as well. Chief John Fitzgerald from the Keego Harbor Police Department. We're going to take a quick break. We went from Pontiac to Keego Harbor. We're running laps. We're going right back to Pontiac after this break to another location where it's really fun to run some laps. That is M1 Concourse in Pontiac. We'll be speaking with their CEO, Tim Mcgrane, on the other side of the break. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was going to die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary. And if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township. As we're approaching Woodward Dream Cruise season, it's coming up just a couple of days away, and they're definitely celebrating down in Pontiac at the M1 Concourse, where we're coming up this Friday and Saturday, August 20th and 21st. It'll be the Woodward Dream Show, and to talk to us about the Woodward Dream Show, we're pleased to be joined once again by Tim Mcgrane, the CEO of the M1 Concourse over in Pontiac. Tim, thanks for being with us today.
Tyler, thank you.
Appreciate having you on. What can people expect at the Woodward Dream Show coming up this weekend?
So what we've created, and this is a new event that we're doing here at M1 Concourse, is to provide an opportunity for owners of, maybe unique hot rods, muscle cars, custom cars, both some heritage cars, some contemporary cars that you may not necessarily see out on the roads, but the owners still want to share them, with the public. So we put together a show of about 250 specialty cars that are going to be on display, static display, in our dynamic arena, as we call it. In addition to that, on the Saturday, car clubs and owners of other hot rods, muscle cars have the opportunity to showcase their car around the track. What we do is, when we do it for our Cars and Coffee or other big events, we sort of line the edge of the track with the car, so it sort of creates a sort of a large walking show that's in addition to the 250 feature cars that we have here.
We're joined by Tim Mcgrane on the Megacast. He's the CEO of M1 Concourse. The Woodward Dream Show is coming up this Friday and Saturday at the M1 Concourse. That, of course, on Friday the 20th and Saturday, August 21st. And in terms of the interactive experience that this provides, it's different than the Dream Cruise itself, which, of course, has different events up and down Woodward and the classic cars that are going up and down Woodward as well to view and observe. But this gives people more of an up close and personal and really interactive experience with these classic cars and some of the personalities that come along with them.
That is correct. One of the things we did want to do is, we wanted to complement the Woodward Dream Show. And we didn't want people, inside M1 to feel sort of separated. So we actually have our grandstands are set up, right along the edge of our property overlooking Woodward. So even participants or attendees that come to our event, can still take advantage of the grandstands when they wish to watch those cars cruising Woodward. But the cars we have inside the property, you'll give an opportunity interactive, included in your ticket, are food and beverage opportunities. So we try to make it an all-inclusive. And then on Friday evening, we've got a special Friday afternoon. Firstly, we're hosting the Automotive Heritage Awards, which is a first-time opportunity. This was an awards event that was held elsewhere. They lost their venue with, obviously, the upheaval in the calendar. So that's coming to us Friday afternoon. And then early Friday evening, we're actually doing a panel discussion. We're calling it Garage Insiders. And we've got the Ring brothers, who are actually exhibiting cars at our event. Ken Ligenfelder, the noted high-performance expert over in Brighton. Wayne Carini is coming into town, especially for this. Bob Larrabee, who's our master of the cruise, he's receiving an award this year. Bob's was the original promoter of the Autorama show and has been in the marketplace for a long time. It's really legendary in the custom car and hot rod world. So, we like to think we've got something for everybody here. For those people that haven't seen the M1 facility, I think it's, it makes for a great venue, to enjoy the cars. So we're looking forward to welcoming a lot of spectators here and the car owners.
In terms of COVID-19, because it's still something that's going to be on the forefront of people's minds going into the Woodward Dream Cruise. Of course, it was the reason why the formal Woodward Dream Cruise last year was canceled, and of course it was in consideration for all the events this year, including the Woodward Dream Show. So what can people expect when they go to M1 Concourse in terms of rules and regulations that might be in place, such as mask wearing or vaccination rates? What are the rules that are in place, and what should people expect to have to comply with when they go to the door on Friday or Saturday?
Well, firstly, we're following and certainly keeping aware of any updates in any, county or state guidelines with regards to, COVID protocols. One of the fortunate things about our venue is it is a fully open air facility. So we've got the opportunity of sort of great spacing and social distancing. We have got signage around. We've advised the county, that we're putting on an event in excess of 1,000 people, and there are requirements for us to have certain signage in place. We have off-site parking where we shuttle people in. All those shuttles will have masks, for the people to wear, when they come on the shuttles, because obviously they're somewhat in confined spaces in that situation.
We're joined by Tim Mcgrane. He's the CEO of M1 Concourse in Pontiac, joining us to talk about the Woodward Dream Show coming up this weekend at the M1 Concourse. And Tim, this is an event that's going to attract a lot of people, especially because of the situation last year where the COVID-19 pandemic caused formal events for the Woodward Dream Cruise to be canceled or to be postponed until this year. So with that being the case, of course, there is just a limited amount of parking at the M1 Concourse. Is there going to be a way for people that maybe are out and about at other places enjoying the Woodward Dream Cruise to be able to get to the event? Will there be something like shuttles provided for people that are in off-site parking locations to then go to the M1 Concourse from the Dream Cruise to experience the Dream Show?
They can. So we do have 3 off-site parking areas. They're all signposted, within a mile of our facility. Our facility is an 87-acre property, but with the track and all our private garages, we don't have a lot of space for large numbers of public parking. So we've got 2 private lots that we've secured in the area of Bagley and Gillespie in the local neighborhoods. And also the old Wisner School property of Cesar Chavez. Both are all signposted and both have personnel there and shuttles going back and forward to the facility. And then we can accommodate, a large number of cars. So those people coming with cars that are cruising and then they want to participate in our event, they can actually pull in. And we do give the opportunity for those car owners to be able to pull out and actually go and cruise Woodward and come back to their show space.
We're joined by Tim Mcgrane. He is the CEO of M1 Concourse in Pontiac. Their Woodward Dream Show coming up Friday, August 20th, and Saturday, August 21st at the M1 Concourse. And in terms of attendance, is it a free event to attend? Are tickets being sold? What's the situation there, Tim?
No, it is a ticketed event. So obviously there's a fee for those people that are showing the cars, and all that information is available on either of our websites, our m1concourse.com website or our woodwarddreamshow.com site.
Yeah, you can find all that information about the Woodward Dream Cruise on their website, as well as purchase passes to the event as well. Tim, just another minute or two with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important or interesting for our audience to know about the Woodward Dream Show this weekend?
No, I mean, I think it's going to be a unique opportunity. I mean, there is, I'll be the first to admit, I have not attended Woodward Dream Cruise before. You know, having come from the West Coast, I've always been involved in other events in California at this time. So this is going to be my first experience. I think I'm very familiar or aware of the sort of culture, but experiencing firsthand. I think what we wanted to do here at M1 Concourse again is to create an opportunity to complement that, and very much part of what this end of Woodward is doing in Pontiac. Last weekend we had Motor Trends Roadkill Nights, and this weekend we've got our Woodward Dream Show. So we're certainly trying to be very much part of what the whole Pontiac area is doing with, I think they call it Pontiac Power Week, that ties into the Dream Cruise.
Well, Tim, we appreciate having you on, and wish you good luck this weekend with the M1 Concourse's Woodward Dream Show.
Tyler, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Tim Mcgrane, CEO of the M1 Concourse in Pontiac, the Woodward Dream Show this weekend, Friday, August 20th, and Saturday, August 21st. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll be heading over to Oakland University, and we'll speak with Professor of Anthropology John Carroll about one of their new academic minors at Oakland University. Coming up next, you're watching and listening to the Megacast.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Want a shot at winning big? Get your COVID-19 vaccine today. Those vaccinated within the last 24 hours are now eligible in a daily drawing of $50,000. Yesterday, someone won. Today, someone will win. And tomorrow, you could too. If you've been putting off getting your vaccine, make today the day. Don't miss out on entering for your shot to win. Must be 18 or over. Sweepstakes rules apply. Get eligibility details and enter at mishottowin.com.
You're watching and listening to the Megacast. We'll return with more after this short break.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
The Megacast, I'm Tyler Kieft in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township. You're watching us on Civic Center TV and Birmingham Area Municipal Access, as well as online, civiccentertv.com, on our Facebook pages, and on My Michigan Television. My TV is mymitv.com, as well as the My Michigan Television app. You can find that on your smartphone as well as on your smart TV and watch us anytime, anywhere, as well as a number of other shows all about the Great Lakes State. We're going to finish off today's episode by speaking with Professor John Carroll. He's a professor of anthropology at Oakland University, and he's created a new academic minor in applied geographic information science, a field with lots of applications on real-life problems. And so, John, for those that are not familiar, what is geographic information science, and how is it applied in everyday life and industry?
Well, thank you for your invitation. Everybody's familiar with GI science, whether they realize it or not. If you've ever used Google Earth or used your cell phone to navigate to a destination and you've used GI science, a lot of people think about the software as the focus of GI science, but it's really not. It's GI science encompasses the principles of the science behind the technology that you're using in addition to the technology. So anytime you see someone out in the field surveying for a new building, anytime you use your computer navigation on your phone, anytime you Zillow, for example, to look for a new house, you're using geographic information science. You just may not realize it.
And a lot of times these surveys used to be done in a much more hands-on manner. And mind you, they're still hands-on. It's just using a lot of technology in our modern era. What are some of the technological devices and systems that are in play when someone is applying GI science out in the field today?
Well, of course, computers and computer software are at the heart of it, and that's what we excel at Oakland University, is teaching students the fundamentals of the software, how to do computer mapping, and then we move out into the other kinds of technologies that you would employ in the field. I personally use a lot of drones and do drone mapping and 3D modeling, both for archaeological sites and for the physical environment, and on the different projects that I'm working on. A lot of again, if you go to a construction site and you see someone doing a survey using a survey instrument, the principles that they're using have been around for hundreds of years, but what they're doing now is taking all that data, synthesizing it with computers and putting it into a computer and doing very sophisticated measurements, modeling, spatial analysis. So, the technologies vary, but it's high precision GPS, precision survey instruments, drones that you're most likely to run into out in the field these days.
We're joined by Professor John Carroll. He's an anthropology professor at Oakland University and has created their new academic minor in applied geographic information science. Joins us today on the Megacast. And Professor, in terms of applications of GI science, you mentioned many of them, such as Google Earth or learning about or learn about a house that you're going to be buying or something like that that use some GI sciences. But in terms of other applications out in everyday life and in the sciences and in industries, what are some of the more common uses or critical uses of GI science that are helpful to our society today that maybe people aren't aware of?
Sure. Well, I can give you an example of an applied anthropology project that I've worked on in Africa, where we're using drones for high precision crop monitoring in the face of climate change. And so what we're seeing is that in a place like Malawi, East Africa, where I've worked, climate change is affecting small farmers very drastically. And so we can use technologies like drones at the household farm level to help people get a better sense of how well crops are doing and where they might be able to apply fertilizer or water in an environment where those elements are very expensive, and if the crops fail, it may be disastrous for everyone. So that's one way that we use GI science, the technologies such as drones, to improve people's lives, and of course it's tied to climate change, which everybody's familiar with.
We're joined by Professor John Carroll, Professor of Anthropology at Oakland University, joining us today on the Megacast. And in terms of this minor, what does the coursework look like? I know that you were quoted as saying it's very flexible, that this minor is a very flexible minor. So what can students expect if they do pursue this minor to experience in terms of what they're learning in the classroom?
Well, when I was putting the minor together, my goal was to bring this science and this technology to anyone on campus that wants to develop the expertise. So it wasn't just for anthropologists or archaeologists like myself. I wanted to make the minor flexible, so if you were into healthcare, if you were a business major, if you were an English major, it really didn't matter as long as you got the fundamentals of the program in place. So we start with a 3-course sequence, which gives you the basics of the software. It also gives you the fundamental principles of how to make maps, and finally how to use satellite and aerial imagery to bring different data sets together. Those 3 core courses help you do that. And then we have 2 additional courses, one of which is an advanced course in your own home major, whatever that may be. You work with a professor that has some kind of GI science background, and you learn more about how science is used in your home field. And then finally, you take it out into the world, either through a directed research course or an internship, and you actually apply all of these principles to a real world problem. And I think that that's what makes us so very different than many GI science programs, is that we just don't show you the technology, we actually show you how to apply it. And that's why I want to call the minor Applied Geographic Information Science.
We're joined by John Carroll. He's a professor of anthropology at Oakland University, talking about a new minor he's established in Applied Geographic Information Science. Lots of applications to real-life problems and can be used across different industries, which is why this is open to students regardless of their major or their home department. And there's also graduate coursework that's offered as well for this minor. So, Professor, just another couple minutes left with you today. Who are people that, what majors would you say, people or areas of study would you say are the best students to consider this minor?
Anyone who's interested in solving real world problems or answering real world questions. So, like I said, because the minor is so flexible, as long as there's some kind of geographic component, in other words, something related to either space or place, and you're interested in understanding that, data, researching, synthesizing, this minor is for you. And as I mentioned before, this is not a classroom exercise. We are interested in solving real problems like disease infection patterns, food security, understanding the lives in the past through the archaeological record. We're out in the world using this stuff all the time. And So I just get very excited about the prospect of training the next generation about these technologies and looking at their creativity and understanding how they want to use this technology for the stuff that they're interested in. So I'm very excited that we have this. You're really only limited by your imagination in terms of how you employ this technology in science.
Well, John, we appreciate having you on and talking about this new miner. Really interesting stuff, and it has so many applications in our real world every day, especially as we become more reliant on technology over time. John Carroll, he is a professor of anthropology at Oakland University. That's going to do it for today's show. We appreciate everybody that's been involved in the Megacast today. Our guests, Stan Carmody from the Eastern Market, Patrick O'Connor from College is Yours, our three wonderful people from the Pontiac Farmers Market, as well as Chief John Fitzgerald from the City of Keego Harbor Police Department, Tim Mcgrane from M1 Concourse, and of course, John Carroll over at Oakland University. You can find every single interview and full episode of the Megacast on our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Find information on COVID-19 and top stories each and every day on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. You can watch Civic Center TV throughout the afternoon for replays and join us Monday through Friday right here from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. I'd like to thank everyone on our crew at Master Control. We have Jake Kustash and Larry Nyland today. Larry, of course, also our Zoom producer and our booking producer today, and Calvin Brown over here running the controls, our engineer for today's edition of the program. That's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow morning live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This has been the Megacast.